Sound check. Sound check. Are we live? Oh, yes, we are live. Okay. I have asked a few friends, and by friends I mean YouTube influencers who I've never met. Holy shit. Hold on a second. 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 Yes, we are live. And unmuted, I think. Am I audible? How do I know? Am I audible? There. Okay. Welcome to Sunkworks again. It's been a while. I'm just barely prepared to start on time, so I'm trying to start on time here. We are live. This is a live show on YouTube, sporadically hosted on the Yebyen streams, live streams. And if you read the show notes for today, we're going to talk about Moonlander, which I promise has absolutely nothing to do with either NASA or Urbit. And I mentioned both those things because it does have some small thing to do with either of those, but in a legal sense, I'm compelled to say that it has nothing to do with either of those projects. Okay, so Cozystack, welcome Cozystack to the CNCF ecosystem. Congratulations, Cozystack, on your first raise. I'm very excited for the whole community. I've been doing these Cozystack Talm demos for a while, but I suppose most of you've probably never seen them. Hint, hint. Passive aggressive, like and subscribe. Okay, so what we do here is described in the README, or if not in the README, let me pull up the... We've got a few directories here. Okay, so at the top level, are we even in the right directory tree? I'm looking for the speedrun.md file. Here we go. Speedrun, readme. There are some secrets in here. I was going to make a copy of this directory so that I could, what we're going to do, we're going to nuke the cluster. There's a cluster that has 4 physical nodes. They're behind me. Not right there, but I rearranged my office, so I can't do that and reveal the cluster behind me anymore. There's a green screen behind me, and behind the green screen over here off camera is, I need to get a second camera so I can show the cluster again. But there's currently no camera to show you the cluster, and I'm not going to try to rearrange my desk because this takes about 30 to 45 minutes from end to end. And I'm going to try to explain something else while I'm doing it because it's very hard for me to talk about what I'm doing and actually make progress on it at the same time. So if you bear with me, I'm going to tell you about Moonlander, and I'm going to do a speed run, Cozystack Talm demo, to tear down the cluster, recreate it, bring prod back. That's the story. While I do that, I'm going to explain how Moonlander is going to help us with various parts. So the things are tied together. These things are more closely tied together than any of the other things I've mentioned here. But there's a little part to play for each of them. And I'm probably not going to get to that because I want to avoid talking about that because I don't really have a position on any of that, and I'm not, it's above my pay grade to have a position on any of that. How does this tie in with other positions and other companies or other work that I'm doing for pay? I can't really talk about any of that stuff without permission, so feel free to reach me offline if you have those types of questions. But So speed run. Guess we can do. There's better cat, right? There. Now I can read it. So we're going to do all this stuff with the speed run. It's documented in the README a little bit better, but there are some extra notes in here to remind me about all the little things I have to do. And in short, Moonlander is going to help me make this page a lot shorter. It should be really simple. Stand up the base cluster, make sure everything is running, and everything is covered by Moonlander, basically. So in this case, there's just a whole bunch of knobs I have to turn on the way to get this thing set up. Ultimately, it's a lot fewer knobs than it would be without the crossplane installation that we have inside. We're going to use crossplane to make all of these knobs go away. We're just going to set up a piece of crossplane infrastructure for each of these things to verify that this thing gets done. Sort of like your old school Ansible workbook. First you deploy the cluster, and then I don't know, I'd never used Ansible in anger, but we're doing that with Cozystack and Crossplane and KubeVirt and Kamaji and vCluster. And we have 6 clusters right now. And they are all OIDC enabled, but with different OIDC providers. Why is that important? We're not going to talk about it today. But there's Dex, which is for all of these non-admin clusters here. There's vCluster and Moo and Mop. They're all vClusters underneath of Harvey here. And Harvey is a KubeVirt Kamaji cluster that's provisioned by Cozystack on the Cozystack admin cluster. And admin test cluster is another test version of Harvey that doesn't do as much. We can use these interchangeably, and we have, at the top level, we have an admin kubeconfig that we can use OIDC for that, but typically we won't because we are the only admin. So there's one admin kubeconfig file that's generated in case OIDC isn't set up yet or OIDC doesn't work. We actually don't have OIDC set up nailed down in a way where it's going to start automatically when we deploy our infrastructure here. We have to first deploy our infrastructure, then configure storage, then configure load balancers, then configure, there's multiple steps. They're all documented in the README and the make file here. I'm going to try to stay in the frame here because I don't want to look like Dilbert or whichever, I don't know. Who's that's not my generation. I don't know what comic that is that has the nose hanging over the fence. You know what I'm talking about? Boomers? Who's my audience here? I hope I don't alienate anybody with my language. Okay, so first we have to tear the cluster down. Before we do that, I actually want to just take a tiny tour so we can see everything that's running. We've got our Urminac.com website that's running as a spin app on the top level cluster. And what is Moonlander actually going to do? It's going to, so when we start, we're first going to deploy a few things. We're going to deploy a root level load balancer and then some Redis instances and the Urminac.com website outside of the cluster. And there's going to be an ingress in a tenant. So there are 2 ingresses. There's an ingress for the root, and then there's an ingress for the tenant. And we'll have to do a certificate exchange or a certificate HTTP challenge in order for these things to work. So this is the type of test you can only do a few times a week at most, because each time consumes a 1 of 5 rate limited. If you're using Let's Encrypt, I think that's how it works. You can only do 5 times a week pre-provision a certificate. So since this isn't a staging environment, it shouldn't be going down 5 times a week anyway. This is production here in my house, or my home lab rather. It's really not. I mean, there are no customers. Sort of. There are actually a few customers as we go along, but they're not paying customers in the sense that I worry if there's 5 minutes of downtime. But just to be clear, we absolutely are monitoring for all sorts of downtime, and we have a fabulous uptime that you can see if you have log into this, which I'm the only person who can. But you can see all my fabulous status pages here. If you want to see what is production, you can see, oh no, it's partially degraded here. I told you there was nothing to do with Urbit. It's only slightly false. There's a small tiny piece of this that runs Urbit. So when we're done, we'll ring the bell. I guess there's different definitions for ring the bell as the speedrun evolves. I hope that one day we can ring the bell in a way that actually makes a noise, sound like bell ringing. I mean, there's always the notification channel. Let me make sure I don't put something inappropriate on the stream here. I have a Slack channel for notifications. Well, yeah, here, this is it. So you can see when I shut down my Urbit planet this morning to get ready for the stream. So, all right, let's kick it off here. We got to start tearing things down, and we are going to see a bunch of notifications. Hopefully they'll be on this screen so you can see them when things start going down. But we can monitor that as well with a script that I have here in my Cozystack Talm demo. So I suppose I don't need to be watching here. I'm the only one watching, live at least. Hopefully y'all are tuning in later to enjoy the Cozystack speedrun. We'll be getting started in just a second. Holy hell, I forgot. I almost forgot the music. We absolutely have to play some music every episode of Sunkworks, and I hope that we don't get a copyright strike. We certainly don't have one yet, but where is my music? I had some music set aside for this very moment. Here it is. Which one? This is not the song I wanted. I have another one somewhere. Hold on. There we go. This is the song that I want to play today. And the tip I started to say at the very beginning of this episode, the tip that I got was that you can actually avoid a copyright strike if you talk over the video a little bit, which I always try to avoid doing because number one, I hate the sound of my voice, and number two, I really just want you to be able to hear the music, but I guess that's impossible, so without a copyright strike. Anyway, I'm going to have to talk over the music just a little bit and be in frame for a few seconds, or it won't be fair use. Wait a minute. Is it still fair use? I hope so. Please don't give me a copyright strike, YouTube.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Lock your Soyuz hatch and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control to Major Tom. 7. 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3. 2. Detach from station and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know who should
we don't get a copyright strike. YouTube. I think I actually need to start using monitor headphones. If I had a monitor, I apologize if the audio was garbage because I had to talk over it to avoid a copyright strike, but this is the world we live in. Okay, awesome. Let me put these things away. We're going to grab this for a minute here. We are going to explain what Moonlander is, what it's for. Only just a minute here. Sorry, I have to minimize some windows, get them off my desk. Get them off my desk. Not that one. We need to see this one. Okay, what else? Holy hell, I looked up Wasm and Kingdon, and you know what I found? There's actually a library called Kingdon. I'm floored. I don't know how to deal with that. All right, moving on. Yeah, I probably should check if I got a copyright strike already, but I'm just going to keep going on because I know we can fix it later, and probably no one is watching live, so. All right, so where is my cursor? Alright, so that command doesn't actually nuke all nodes. We're up to 4 nodes. I was going to update the speedrun.md this morning, but I didn't get a chance to finish reading through it. I wanted to start on time, and I still want to start on time. And I said I was going to tell you all about Moonlander instead of talking about the work. So that's what I'm going to do. So what Moonlander is going to do first, it's probably going to evolve over time, but I want it to do one thing first and put it into production before we start to get bogged down with additional requirements, because we know what our requirements are. We have one specific requirement. We need to be able to access a remote Kubernetes cluster from inside of our cluster. And Moonlander is going to run inside of Harvey. So if you're not familiar with the architecture, you'll see as we go along. But Harvey runs... so what's happening right now, these machines are all going into maintenance mode. They're getting their disks wiped, and they're going into maintenance mode. And I'm going to peek under my shoulder here to see... I do have a monitor. I can see... At least one of them is rebooting now. It looks like it's a Linux kernel boot screen. I don't know if you can see this. Not really. Well, it's back here. And when they're done, they'll be in maintenance mode. And then we're going to nuke our secrets because they're no good to us anymore. They've been used on a previous cluster. We don't know if that cluster was ever compromised. We're not going to keep the secrets. We're going to rotate them and deploy again. And I apologize for this floating thing over my head. Maybe this will help. I tried my fill light earlier today and it was flashing, so I don't know if that helps either. Oh, that's horrible. Turn it off. Try one more thing. That's better. Yes, that's all better. Okay. So when these machines go down, sometimes they don't come back up. Because they're workstation class machines. They're like crappy workstations from woot.com that are like, I don't know, 10th generation Intel processor. I don't know what generation there is, even what the current one is, but they're not the current generation. They were each less than $200. My primary requirement was I need to be able to put a secondary disk into each of them. And there is a chance that they're coming back up with a different IP address also. So I don't really know how long I should wait before I move on. But I'm going to go by the one behind me to see. It's still booting. It just rebooted again, actually. So it's going to take a minute because it has to wipe a few hard drives. And then it's got a Pixie boot, which means it has to download an image from the internet. It's downloading from Docker Hub. I think that's probably the bottleneck. I think it has to download from Docker Hub. So one day I'll set up a container registry, and that part of that is here in the plans for Moonlander, for there to be our own container registry. I'm Erminac.com, by the way, and that's down right now. If you look, it is down. And so is my Urbit planet, and so is the Water Monitor Ruby web service, and so are all 6 of those clusters we looked at earlier. 3 of them V clusters, 2 of them KubeVirt, Kamaji, and 1 bare metal Cozystack. But when these machines all come back in maintenance mode, hopefully soon. Sorry, I should probably have a mic in front of me if I'm going to be turning around backwards. Then we can apply a new config to them, and we should start preparing that config. I'm gonna we don't need to watch this here because we've got things to do. But I want to be cognizant because if any of them don't come back up, that can hamper us later. So I might actually need to push a button and restart a machine manually. And I might have to lift the curtain and plug a monitor into something to see what stage it failed at. So this is not something I can do remotely. It could be done remotely in theory. I would like to do this on AWS, but since it involves putting machines into maintenance mode, the way that I do it here, it really has to be done on a private network. And I know you can arrange a private network on AWS, but I have yet to really figure out how all that stuff works. We have to figure that out sooner or later. I think if I move this down a little bit, I'll have better posture. What is it? 30 it's at. I got this nice new chair. Thank you, Navteca. My current employer is my newest employer since November. I'm very happy to be working with Navteca. They brought me out to Goddard Space Flight Center and got me my NASA badging done. We're doing contract work with NASA out of the Science Mission Directorate. And it has nothing to do with the speedrun, right? I said I was going to focus on the speedrun today. But a lot of this stuff is inspired by the work we're doing there. I have to be careful what I say. Inspired, not copied, not derivative. All of the things that we're using are open source. They're published under permissive licenses. So I'm very fortunate that I get to work with a contract and deliver things in a private setting that I can also then go out and reproduce in public. Not as oh boy, I just keep getting deeper here. Trying to say it in a way that makes it sound legal and good. I know not everyone who works on a government contract gets to participate in open source. And I've also come to understand that I can't exactly do it on paid time either because it's not in our contract. But I hope that one day that we get there. I don't think anyone ever expected for a Flux maintainer to be on a contract like this. It's just not written for that. But here we are. Now, Flux maintainer and Cozystack maintainer, by the way. I'm a Flux maintainer for Cozystack. it's great. So let's look. I really have to figure out how this... Oh no. Boot not found. That's not very good. Well, it happened. It happened, guys. We're going to have to pull back the curtain and look. What am I even plugged into here? Which one is wrong? It's this one here. So I think the first thing I'm going to try is just to reboot it, because that's most likely going to work. It's going to go into Pixie Boot. I should have this keyboard plugged in. Yeah, it is plugged in, so I can do something about it if it doesn't just work. Hope you all can still hear me. I'm sorry. Oh, you like my shirt? This came from my father-in-law. Thanks, Roger. I think I gotta press escape during boot to get to the BIOS menu, and I have to enable Pixie booting. Boot options. Network Pixie boot is enabled. Oh boy. UEFI boot order. Save changes. Yes, please. So, how do we know which machines are working and which ones are not? Let me clean all this stuff up first. Make nuke. Okay. So the current Cozystack version is 0.30.4, last I checked yesterday. And the current Talm version is 0.13.0. So we have to do is here in the README. We have to. There's one more thing we have to do actually. Because I usually don't delete the nodes directory, but whenever there's been an update to Talm, I do like to do that because it's possible that the chart, and I want to make sure I actually deleted the charts directory too. What does the tree look like now? If we didn't consider tenants and Helm releases. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm just going to sprint to the point where I can talk about Moonlander. I think it's make template that I want here. Oh no. Okay. All right. Right. Make init. Okay. And then I want to make sure my values file Doesn't have anything that needs to change in it. So we've built our own image here. We're going to set up OADC all very quickly. Cert sans. Did I add that? Okay. Yeah, so we've upgraded a couple of versions of Telm here. So we've got our Telm chart, which is like a Helm chart, but doesn't install onto Kubernetes, it installs over Kubernetes. How do you like that? Some things have changed in this spec here. I just want to see why. Why didn't it boot? I don't understand. Damn. Did I forget? Did I forget to set up my... Yes. Let's see. It's been a few months since I've done this. Alright, so hopefully Matchbox is running. Actually, hopefully it's not running. That would explain everything. Okay, super. Pre-flight checks. We need this one added to the pre-flight checks for Moonlander. You're going to start to get the idea of what Moonlander is for before I actually get around to telling you what it is. Okay. Hey. I gotta reboot all these computers. I'm live. Hey. Hi. How's it going?
Good.
What you doing?
In the shower.
All right. I'll close the door.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna try one more time here. Rebooting. Oh, you can almost, can you see the screen here now? You can almost see it's Pixie booting. Oh, hey puppy. Come on. Hey puppy. Are you helping? Oh, hello puppy. Say hi to the camera. No, you don't want to be on camera, huh? Hey. Ah. Hey, come on, say hi. Oh boy. Whoa, it's a puppy. It's a puppy. Okay. There. You got to be on the show. Yeah, Boris is here too, but I'm not going to try to lift him like that. Here, Boris, you want to come up? Oh, it's Fiona. Okay, that one machine booted now. How many of them booted? Holy hell, Doug. What are you doing? Hold on, I'm live. All right, guys. Out. All right, we're We're going to accept all these changes because I'm sure they're good. We're not going to look at them too closely. Oh, there's that cert sans. Great. Nice. I actually want to use that. Hold on a minute. I want to look at our DNS config for a minute. I know I created something.erminac.com because I've learned my lesson about using .local domains. But there's still a bunch of them in here. 252. Who is 252? Not in this list. Oh, okay. Wait, was it 253? Yeah, here we go. Metal. That's what we want to call it. We can give it both names. That's why it's a subject alternate name. Cert san. Okay. Was it cert sans? Cert sans. Values.cert sans. Alright. Okay, so we gotta do make template, and hopefully all of our machines are responding and in maintenance mode now. Nope, not all of them. Alright, so number 5. Wait. Three, 5, 6, and 2. Okay. 3, 5, 6, and 2. So 3 is responding. 5 is not responding. Gotta reboot 5. Which one is 5? They're labeled, but on the wrong side. Okay, they're all off. That's why they're not. What about this one? Also off? Yes, also off. If they were on, they might have booted into maintenance mode. Okay. I just heard some things beep. I hope that's a good beep. I'm sure it's a good beep. We have a little monitor nodes reboot here that tells us if nodes are on or off. It doesn't tell us about whether they're in maintenance mode or if they're responding to Talos API calls in any fashion, but it will tell us when they're down and when they come back up. And that one is up. So we have to build this list of template files while our cluster is down, and normally when we're not doing an upgrade we won't have to do this. We could just use the same template files, but I want to make sure my templates are good and that they have the right boot disk listed. I might need to plug a monitor into something else to see why 5 and 6 are not back. Are they coming? Are they coming? Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I have to make sure this thing is going to boot from the hard drive next time. Maybe not. Let's see. It's booting. It's rebooting. Second time. Boy, I am really not having a good day here. I might have to can the whole stream. Wait, it's starting now. What about the other one? Excuse me, guys. So once we template these machines, we generate our secrets, we bootstrap, we apply in some order. I think first we apply. Once we have the secrets, then we bootstrap. Once something is online. Okay, that looks pretty good. 5, 6, 2. So we're good to go now. Make template. Okay. Before we do that, I'm going to do one more comparison here. We've got a new address. Is that okay? I don't know. I actually don't know if any of this is okay. I can't believe that's a thing. Okay, so we're going to patch in our own. Hold on a minute. I think the main thing I'm worried about is, did it get the disk right? Because we're going to patch in our own registry mirrors here in a minute, and sysctls. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to replace that mirror with our own local mirror, but that's great to know that that's there, because the Docker IO rate limiting is a real pain. Alright, first we do that. Wait a minute. Why is that one not online? Well, it's responding to pings, but it's not. Wait a minute. Is it 132 or 139? Maybe that would be a more sensible order. No, that's not what we're looking at here. Apply. Alright, we're just going to try and reboot this machine one more time. Yeah, it was not running. I'm not sure what state it was in, but we'll come back in a minute. Hopefully it will not boot, and then we can do the make apply thing one more time. Yeah, it's not booting now. I think this is how it got this way. Wait a minute. Nodes 139? Ah, this is backwards. And now is that still going to work? I don't know. Okay, I think we're ready for Make Bootstrap. Then we can do Make Cube Config. And we should start seeing nodes join the cluster any minute now. In theory. Looks like we're in pretty good shape here, except 3 out of 4 are running 1.9.4. How did that happen? Oh, shoot. We're gonna have to nuke all nodes again. Sorry. It's supposed to be a speed run, but we haven't started counting yet. We have to get into maintenance mode first successfully. Wait a minute. Okay. Can't do that until I did this. I'm probably going to have to run through the machines one by one again. I think the values file is where the problem is. Oh, it says 1.9.5. I have no explanation for why they're running 1.9.4. Maybe I can upgrade them in place? Oh, okay. They're not going to be ready nodes, though. Yeah, okay. Everyone joined. That's good. That's how we want it to look. Yeah, I think the problem is that they're net booting. But if they're net booting, they should be getting the latest image. They didn't get the latest image. I don't think it matters right now. We're just going to go with it. So we have to install Cozystack in order for the CNI to be configured. That's why we did it this way here. Okay. And at a certain point, it's going to be more productive to look at headlamp. And I think it's now. So you see, as Cilium is starting to come up, our nodes are becoming ready. Once the nodes are ready, Flux is going to start working. And once Flux is working, we will have Helm releases go. Looks like they're already going. Once all our Helm releases go, then we can follow the rest of the docs, which, by the way, Cozystack.io. What we're doing is basically, it moved. It moved recently. I can't remember where they moved it to. Here, operations, Talos Linux, installation, Pixie Boot. So we did this. We didn't come up with this ourselves. The fabulous friends at Cozystack came up with this process, and I just followed it and modified it to meet my needs. So it's got all these things in here, and then we do bootstrap cluster, except instead of using, now I recommend you start with Talos Bootstrap because it's easier to get started. It looks like Debian installer. But what time's the reservation?
12:30.
All right, cool.
She'll be here at 12:15, so we can ride together.
Okay, this will only take me another 15-20 minutes. Now we're on a timetable. Got a reservation. What could go wrong? So I'm using Talm. Then once Talm is done, here we've done Talm. We've done install. Here, that's about where we are. Okay. And this, it comes out of the box like this because we're using Talm. And we could indeed track the logs of the installer, but we just want to see that all these things become ready. And we're getting close. Oh, well, maybe we're not. There's like way more things here than I thought. Let's see, can we sort by status? Not really. Why does it not work the way I want it to? It kind of looks like everything is ready, but I don't trust it. I think that they changed the way the Cozystack installer works. I think it's actually applying one thing at a time because I don't see in here, I don't see the Helm release for Linstore. Oh wait, no, Linstore it says is ready. All right, so I think we can get started on the rest of the instructions here. We've got a metal LB config to put on. We want to make sure before we set up storage, we want to make sure we actually do the instructions in a slightly different order because of a thing. Storage. So we don't want to set up storage because we want to make sure that before etcd comes up in the root, we're going to hobble it a little bit. We're not going to have 3 etcds. We're going to have only 1. And that's because we've only got storage on 1 machine out of the 4. So we've got a special storage class that our replicated storage is a little bit different than the one that's built in because they've got autoplace 3 and we've got autoplace 1. So it's not really replicated, it just says replicated. It's probably would be better labeled non-local. But if I labeled it non-local, then all the things in Cozystack that are looking for the replicated storage class would find it missing. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. We've got our networking config in. Here, this is the one we're looking for. We want to do this before storage. Like this. We're going to turn monitoring off because it takes up extra resource. Well, we added another node since we made this decision, so I think we should turn it back on, but we're going to keep isolation off, and etcd is not going to work without storage, so we're going to edit the etcd Helm release real quick when we get a chance. So ultimately, I would hope that Moonlander is going to do all of this stuff for me, but the way that I've conceived of Moonlander MVP, it's not going to do any of this stuff. It's only once we've got our Harvey cluster up and it's configured with GitOps, it's going to run then, and it's going to receive... It's going to receive a admin kubeconfig for the Cozystack cluster so that Harvey has access to the Cozystack API, which is just a Kubernetes API. So there's no values here. We're going to add values. Replicas 1. And here, let me get this a little bigger. You see, it's trying to bring up 3 etcds, but it fails because there's no storage. And it's just going to spin them down, so now there's only 1. And then we're going to make storage and make then store add all ps. I don't remember what that command stands for. Then we should see etcd coming online fairly quickly. I think one of the reasons we took monitoring out as well is because it depends on storage, and we wanted to keep the storage light because we're not actually doing replicated storage, and because it's a spinning disk. But we've since added one more node, so I think we have enough juice to run monitoring. Yeah, and I can delete these PVCs now. Okay. Want to see if anything's wrong. Looks like we're coming along pretty nicely. Okay, so once we've got our root tenant up, I think we can consider OIDC. I think that's what they suggest you do next in the docs here. Did we forget anything? I know we went out of order. Just want to double check. I think we got it all. We have to enable the dashboard, right? First, we enable the dashboard. Oops. We're going to get this authentication token, which I'm going to do off the screen because I don't know if anyone started watching. And this one, this is a big one here. I don't really want you all to have this token. Oh, and I have to do one thing. See, all these things need SSL certificates. And without port 80, they will not get an SSL certificate. We could also just use one ingress controller, and that would make things a little bit simpler. But I think that part of the Cozystack design is to have some isolation, and we've already turned off some of the isolation, so so why is our cert not provisioning, or did it? Just because we did it in the wrong order, I guess. Yep, alright, we got a cert now. So I should be able to go here and put that token in. Just gonna put it in over here. Oh, it's a big long password, you can't see it. Okay, and I'm gonna refresh. And we can see here, we've got our one replica. Great, great. All right, so instead of actually using the dashboard to install anything, I'm gonna install things from my backup, which are just copies of the Helm releases, neatened up a bit. Helm releases, got tenant root. We need Redis. And we deploy test first. Should get a load balancer pretty quickly. It's got the right address. Get another one for live. And then we deploy tenant test. And then I think we can go pretty quickly. Let me see here. Wait, before I start deploying things into tenant test, is there anything that I need to do? So we're starting to get to the things that Moonlander will do in the long term. But what I hope is once I get to this point and I create the Harvey cluster, it's just going to install itself from the public Git repo. And then it's going to be provisioned with a token that it can use to access the root cluster, so it can stand up all those other things, like the Redis instances and all the things. These need to come up in order because they don't force them, they don't select load balancer IP, so the load balancer IPs are provisioned from 241, 242, 243, 244. And if I do these things all in order, then they all get provisioned in order. But those are the only load balancers I'm using, so this is the last time I need to worry about that. So it's not what I consider low-hanging fruit for automation, because those are things that I don't need to do again until the next time production is down. Like, those are things that I need to address before I have an actual disaster and I need to recover quickly, but we don't actually have customers, so I don't actually have to do that yet. So I'd rather just create the bridge so that I can manage infrastructure in the general case, so that I don't have to do, I remember now, what else is it that I have to do? I have to get Erminac online. Config, wait. So we don't use Git to do our Git ops in Cozystack. That's a little bit weird for me. And I think it's good because Cozystack's a platform. It's delivered for you. You don't own a Git repository that you can write to. You don't want them to upgrade it out from under you. So I think that's all good. Spin operators installing. Yes, and this is where I have to do something. First, put that back. So we want to know, is Urbit.com back up? And it is not yet, but it will be soon. All right, so the reason we built our own Cozystack image was so that we could have, oh, wait a minute, we don't have a valid certificate yet? We should. Oh, we're only Urbit.com. We still have to have www. So all of this stuff is going to get handled by Crossplane once Harvey has an entry point to the Cozystack cluster. So Moonlander is going to be very small. It just has to copy that secret in order to be useful. So I think Moonlander runs on the Cozystack cluster, and then in the future, another Moonlander will run on the Harvey cluster to put a kube config onto one of our V clusters, so we can have a dev environment for changes in Crossplane, because right now we only have the one Crossplane locally, so everything that we do in there is going to apply to prod. I know that there are different ways to handle that, but yeah, so we're using SpinCube to host our website on, and we're doing it on the Metal because it's faster, and because virtual machines have a tendency to go down when their host machine goes down, and so the mean time to recovery is faster. So you'll almost always see when I reboot my Talus cluster, the Urbit website comes back way faster than all of the Here we go. Urmanac.com. We still have to deploy the app itself. Right. It would be way faster if this stuff was automated, though. Even if we had to wait for Harvey, because we'd have less steps to do. So all right, so we've got tenant test. We're going to put our Kubernetes clusters in there. They already have GitOps configured in their Helm values, so they don't need intervention except for one small thing. On Harvey, we need to put an SSH key in. We will also plan to automate this with Crossplane. But Moonlander is going to help. We need Moonlander before any of those automations are possible. So that's what I am going to build in my spare time, because I have so much spare time. Can we look at that production? Does it show things coming back yet? Probably not for a minute or two. Yeah, so we started about an hour ago, and I've been talking this whole time, so it took a little bit longer than it normally would. But Urmanac is back, and then our tenant Kubernetes will be back soon too. I might have to leave. I don't have to leave for at least 15 or 20 minutes though, so I think we have time to do all this. Doesn't matter which order we deploy these in, and it's going to create a whole bunch of things underneath for us. So we don't have to deploy all of these add-ons. They get deployed by the Kubernetes cluster. We're going to do our backup when all this is done, and we're going to see that there's not really much changed because we haven't upgraded versions. It should all be there, even though we've only put a few Helm releases on, because it's all set up through a declarative GitOps process. So remember, GitOps does not have to have Git to be GitOps. It's going to take a minute for these clusters to come up. We can see how it happens in... Can we filter by namespace? We don't need to. Just going to watch this stuff. Here, I'm going to be right back. I got to get something to drink. It looks like we're coming online. We must have virtual machines running. It looks like they're coming online. Shit. I left my water downstairs. So I said we have to put that SSH key into Harvey. It doesn't need it for the initial sync, so it can kick things off with the public registry, but we want to use an SSH key so we're sure that we're authenticated to the right repo. And I think I just connected a dot. We want our staging environment in a separate repo so that can't happen. Oh, sorry. I can't tell you the whole story, but a thing happened at work this week, and I would like to avoid that thing happening again. It was a good thing. I swear, it was a good thing. It's a good thing. All right, we need Dex secret. We need this public key. It's perfectly safe for you to see this one. We also recommend using GitHub Apps. Maybe I'll use GitHub app in the future. I'm not ready yet. That's new in Flux 2.5. we'd like for the deck setup to come up automatically too. So then there is another piece to this puzzle. It's going to bring all of our V clusters back, but they're going to have new CA certificates. So we should be able to connect again, but we need a new cube config with the correct CA certificate. So this is a little trash Go app that I wrote to make such a cube config. I'm going to do that. Make super TLDR. Let's see if we can, in fact, okay. We're about ready to start ringing bells here. We got a few more things to touch, but Crossplane is online because that's WordPress there, and WordPress is not deployed by Flux. It's deployed by Crossplane in here. It's the example Crossplane app. So every time you hear WordPress, take a shot. Of water. Speaking of which, we want high quality water, so see, Moonlander is a sub-project of the water monitor here, a venture arm of Tuesday Studios. All right, so we have to go, we have to do one thing here. So that's a dummy. That's a dummy. That's a dummy. I don't know why it does that. That's a bug in kconf. I've seen it do it before though. Just going to put those back. All right, so we can see everything is looking pretty good here. Even the monitoring's online, so we can probably see how we're doing on cluster utilization in terms of resources. Yes, we can. Looks pretty good to me. I don't know why it keeps flickering like that. We've got a few SSL certificates to fix, but that's okay. We'll come back and do that later, off stream. But we have to bring this water monitor online because it's the actual production service of this cluster. And so this should also be done by Crossplane, enabled through Moonlander. I know there's a Redis secret, isn't there? No, it's in tenant root. Here, I'm just going to borrow this secret. think this goes on Harvey directly, but it might go into a V cluster. I don't remember. I'm not sure if it matters. Oh, it does matter. Ingress class name of Nginx. So I think it doesn't matter. Alright, we're going to put it in here. I don't think it matters if you see my Redis password, but I'm probably going to grab another terminal here to do that part off screen. There. Okay, modify secret. Water secret. Dash n water. Right. I don't think I did this right. I think it's supposed to be in the Harvey cluster directly. It's online though, that's good. Let me get that secret. All right. You can't see the contents of the secret, but you can see that I updated it. I'm going to delete all that stuff we just created. And we're going to go into the Harvey cluster. There's a README here. Whoa, what is this? Alright, so I should be able to do an annotation. Let me look up the annotation. Just like this one. Except we've got a slightly different name for our cluster issuer. Okay, right. Oops. Annotation Z. And then as soon as this certificate is ready, I think it can ring the bell, and we'll call it a stream. I would love for this to work. It should definitely work. Why ain't it working? Because we're on the wrong cluster. This goes on the test cluster, of course, because it's production. It goes on the test cluster. Try again. Okay, I'll be right out. Gotta go, guys. But I think this is gonna work. But I gotta go right now. Oh man, it worked. It worked, didn't it? Is the app coming online? It did. It did. All right. Goodbye. Listen to some music. See you later. And broadcast.